Karibu sana Club 1999. Now we have already covered quite a lot of background on Nancy Gitau in the public domain. And towards the end of this video, I include a link to that video in case you missed it, so that you catch up and you're up to speed as I give you this very, very sensitive information. Now, Nancy Gitau was recruited into government, into the Mwai Kibaki administration, by who? She was recruited by a man called Stanley Murage. Now, you need to know something about Stanley Murage and what he was doing in the Kibaki administration. Forget the official title. What was he really doing in the Kibaki administration? Stanley Murage headed a parallel intelligence unit for State House, for Mwai Kibaki's State House. What was the purpose of this intelligence unit? This intelligence unit had the sole purpose of keeping Mwai Kibaki in power. Now, in case you didn't know, since the beginning of the nation called Kenya, kitchen cabinets have always had their methods of gathering intelligence. Of course, the chief source is the special branch in those days, nowadays the National Intelligence Service, the country's National Intelligence Service. They have access to that information, or to whatever information they may require. They then use this information to get further information, to make further inquiries, and so on and so forth. This is exactly what used to happen under Jomo Kenyatta. Now, it can get very confusing who was involved in what. So let me just give you an example from the Jomo Kenyatta administration that will make this clearer. During the Jomo Kenyatta administration, the special branch were responsible for the assassination of Tom Mboya. Indeed, it was a massive operation, which I talk about in my video. Tom Mboya, it was more than an assassination. That documentary covers that. And of course, the whole operation was headed by James Kanyotu, who was then in charge, the country's spy chief. However, the intelligence boys were not responsible for the assassination of Josiah Mwangi Kariuki, JM Kariuki. That was purely a Jomo Kenyatta kitchen cabinet operation. Now, under Kibaki, it was decided to set up a fully fledged, with offices, files, etc., officers, personnel, a fully fledged parallel intelligence agency within State House. Now, I must warn you, because where intelligence organizations are involved the world over, it is very easy to dismiss some of the operations. Some of the operations are very difficult to believe. Much of what they end up doing can very easily be categorized as conspiracy theories. Let me give you an example from what I've already mentioned. It is mind-boggling to imagine that J.M. Kariuki, a Kikuyu, who was very close to Jomo Kenyatta, indeed worked as his personal assistant once, would actually be assassinated by the Jomo Kenyatta government, would actually be assassinated by the Jomo Kenyatta kitchen cabinet, would actually be assassinated by his fellow Kikuyus. On the surface of things, it sounds very, very far-fetched. Now, the same can be said about the very first mission of the Stanley Murage Intelligence Unit. And that mission was, wait for this one, was to assassinate Raila Odinga. And that is precisely how the Artur brothers, if you remember them, came to the country. Their mission was to carry out an assassination. So what happened? Why wasn't that assassination carried out? Well, for starters, for those of you who remember, who were around then, Raila Odinga blew the whistle. He called a press conference and he revealed the information that a hitman had been brought into the country to assassinate him. And he even gave the address, in a leafy part of town, where this particular assassin to be was holed up. What followed was not supposed to happen, because the Artur brothers became celebrities in Kenya. Yeah, they came into the public limelight. Under such circumstances, it was impossible to go ahead with the mission because it would have been very, very obvious and it would have brought trouble into the country. And so, that assassination attempt was shelved. No wonder people say Raila Odinga has 9 lives. Wow. Anyway, massive funds had been used, to get these Arturo brothers into the country. And so the Stanley Murage Intelligence Unit found another way to use them. Okay? They actually took part in the raid on standard newspapers. So we are very clear who Stanley Murage is or was in the Kibaki administration. And this is the man who recruited Nancy Gitau. And so by extension, we know the particular unit Nancy Gitau was recruited to and what kind of work she was involved in. Now, with this kind of information, you can fill in all the other gaps for yourself as to who Nancy Gitau exactly is, and why we have been told, or rather it was made public on July 2016 that she had resigned. Some said she had been fired. And yet, Yala legislator mentioned her name, as being part of the unit, close to the president, on a crusade to finish DP William Ruto. Well, it just meant that she had never really resigned, she had never really been fired. She had just changed the way she was operating. Alianza cooperate chini ya maji. The best and most effective spooks, operate in the dark, behind the shadows. You don't even know they exist. So Nancy Gitau's new role after her supposed resignation was really even more effective, much more effective than before, when she had a title and even an office in State House. Now, if you still don't understand, I spell it out very clearly in my weekly intelligence report, which will be released on Monday, 23rd July. And as you know, the way to get that weekly intelligence report is to go to Patreon, and join the group that supports me monthly. Now, my apologies, but you will understand this information is highly, highly sensitive, especially spelling it out, because the current administration is the Uhuru Kenyatta administration. And the reason is the fewer people, who can get access to this information, the better. Keeping the circle small, of people I reveal that information to helps me stay safe. Now, I'm well aware not all of you will agree with me. Not all of you will side with me on this one. Some will say, oh, it's Chris's way of raising money. He's making too much money out of us. We've already paid for Club 1999. Now he wants us to pay on Patreon. I understand. And I respect your views. The only problem is that you have to wear somebody's shoe to feel where it pinches. However, I've given you more than enough information to fill in the gaps for yourself, even if you don't want to access my weekly intelligence briefings. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.